Hi everybody, I'm Gabriel, and I just wanted to do a little thing where I'm able to take you on a little bit of an adventure with me. By a little bit of an adventure, I mean we are going to talk about me. I am a stand-up comedian. I'm an artist. I am on YouTube. I'm Greek Orthodox. I am many things in this life. We all play many roles, do we not? I'd say we do. And I'd say that I am an example of somebody who has taken very seriously my own self-improvement. Now, does this make me a narcissist? Nah, I'm a bit of a narcissist anyway. And a bit of a smart aleck. However, what it makes me is somebody who takes pride in what I do, and takes pride in the fact that I've gone from what I had been so long ago to what I am today. Now, right now, I'm in the office of the Executive Director of Reachability. This is the one place that doesn't have people, and I can do the explanation about myself without any distractions or any background noise. Just gonna tilt over here, show you the outside. Does that not look nice? A little view of the outdoors, if you will. Right now it's kind of a rainy day, but I don't let that affect me. I don't let that affect my outlook on life. Weather is weather. It's not gonna bust me up. If it's not so good, if we call it, I can still be happy. Now, I used to have somewhat of a pessimistic view on life. I used to think that anything bad happens, that's all that's going to happen. Nothing good's ever going to happen to me. And I hate everybody because, how dare they be happy while I'm not? How dare they get involved in my life? That kind of stuff. Then I come to realize having Asperger's, having high-functioning autism, well, indeed, yes, life is a little bit more difficult in the social areas. Well, life is a little bit more difficult with the attitudinal barriers. Well, life is a bit more of a challenge. It does not give me an excuse to sit around and say, poor me. It does not give me excuse to say, well, I'm gonna ignore all the things I'm talented at. Whether it be art, whether it be YouTube videos. Hey, I got 3 characters to level 80 on my anti-social networking thing known as World of Warcraft. Yes, I know, I borrowed somebody else's term, anti-social networking. And no, I'm not paying you royalties. You know who you are. I'll give you a donation if I become really rich and famous. Fingers crossed behind his back. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. This person knows who they are. All right. So, I've been doing a lot of programs. Well, I've done my fair amount. A couple, 3, I think it was. Done Asset, I've done Success 20, and I've done For Youth. And in between Success 20 and the For Youth program here, I volunteered. And I did a good job. I think I did. And I think, on an also equally important note, I've come to make some friends. And also, I've come to work on my own personal barriers. Not just the shyness when it comes to talking to people, but my attitudes about others, my tolerance of other people, my ability to get along with anyone that lives and breathes. And as a very good mentor, in fact, I'm in her office right now, as a very good mentor told me. She's told me a couple of things. One was, you get more with honey. And I don't think she was referring to flies. I think what she was referring to in this case was, you could go through life being a complete jerk, or not trusting anybody, and you don't really get that much accomplished by doing so, because nobody wants to be around somebody who's negative all the time. In fact, I think she actually did break it down into those types of words as well. And she also told me, be a mensch. Because you can be a lot of things in life. You could be an actor, you could be a director, you could be a lawyer, you could be a preacher, you could do construction work, you could be a police officer, you could be anything you want. But you're not going to really survive in life if you're not a mensch, a human being. Now, from what I've heard, from what I've discovered, there are some minor and major differences between mensches and human beings. Because to be just a human being, at least from what I've seen, is pretty damn easy. Get up, live, breathe, eat, excrete waste, bathroom time that is, and ta-da, you're human. Does that mean you're a very good human? I mean, seriously, history is full of dictators and crazy people. By crazy, I mean violent, sociopathic, and all around not nice people who, biologically speaking, they were human, but they weren't very good humans. They were very bad people. Yeah, like even Kim Jong-il or Stalin. Yeah. They're human. But would I say they're mensches? No, God no. They're not. So, what am I trying to say with this? What kind of a message am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, no matter whether you have a disability, whether you even if you're not living with a disability, it's good to go beyond your own limits, to, as my mentor would say, be a mensch. You get a problem with someone who is a little different than you, they might be a little bit slower in expressing themselves, or they might have a little harder time with their cognitive abilities, or they might have a learning disorder, or you might be used to getting treated like crap by people that don't have a disability if you have a disability. Or you might be a so-called religious person who has a problem with someone who's a transsexual. And all the while, everybody has something that we're living with, whether it's a disability, whether it's personal stigma, whether it's problems. And we all seem to forget this one thing: treating each other with the respect that we would like to be treated with. And not so much focusing on such negativity all the time. Which is too bad. But if we were a little bit more positive, and I'm not the positivity fairy here, I'm just saying, but if we were more positive in all of respects, we could get a whole lot of good stuff done. That's what I want to say. And I think also, I'm going to be doing a couple of interviews, getting some insights. There are going to be some people that can give you a little more of a view of how I have improved, or how I have improved on my own self, as in where I was before, where I am now, and possibly where they think I'm going. All the insights. I am optimistic for the first time in a long time, because I know that I have the talents it takes to do whatever I need to do. I will succeed. Don't know how, don't know when, but I know I will. So, how about you? Will you succeed? Have you challenged yourself today? Anyway, before I go, just gonna focus in on a little drawing that I gave. I said I was an artist. Gotta prove it, don't I? So anyway, I leave you with those thoughts as they are, and I hope that you get something from this, and perhaps from the interviews as well. So, as I say on the YouTubes and some of my videos, Shalom and Nanu Nanu, my friends. Alright, I am interviewing Tova Sherman. How are you doing, Tova?
Good.
So,
do I look at the camera or do I look at you, Gabriel? I'd rather look at you.
okay, you look at me
cool?
if you want. It's
Because looking at the camera, I don't know, it's so benign.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm Tova Sherman, and I'm the executive director and founding director of Reachability. And you probably have already told everyone about what we do, and if you haven't, we do a lot.
Okay. Yeah, by the way, this, when I did the piece where I was kind of doing a video on myself, this was the only empty place. Thank you very much.
Oh, you used my office, that's okay.
And for putting my drawing up there.
Oh, yeah, this is a good space if I'm not here. If I'm here, it gets crowded.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Just wondering, in your own words, what were your first impressions of me when I walked into Reachability?
You reminded me of me.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I was always very impulsive, primarily because I live with ADHD, and although we have different disabilities, you and I, Gabriel, I see some connections to some of our behaviors. And one of the ones that I manage, you know, I'm always managing and working with, is in the impulsivity of speaking your mind at all times. So for me, really, the first time I saw you, you reminded me of me before I had to come to terms with the reality of getting more with honey, which my mother taught me.
Yeah, I actually, when I was interesting you brought that up, because in the me portion of the video where I was kind of just hashing out some things, I brought up the you get more with honey point, and I also brought out the be a mensch.
Yeah, well, I know you like to use the Yiddish, and you generally use it quite well, so I won't say anything. But yes, being a mensch, or for those who are watching, meaning just being a really good person, being a well-rounded, caring, generous soul who isn't looking to cause trouble or doesn't need to be heard over the realities of what's socially appropriate in our community, within reason. I mean, we're all a little socially inappropriate, otherwise it'd be boring.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So, Just just wondering. You've obviously well, I've been in the various programs from Cycle to Success 20, even volunteering in For Youth, and here you've you saw me back in 2008, the impulsive, the other explicit deleted words we're not going to use, and
Well, you were an ass. There's no question.
okay.
But then I can be an ass. That's maybe why we're
Oh
related.
no, I mean, fair enough. I have no problem with that.
You were just completely self-absorbed because you hadn't had any opportunities, in my opinion, to really get absorbed into other people and to mirror off of other people. You've always had you to some extent and perhaps some familial relationships, but not necessarily at the level you needed them to be. In other words, to understand some of those social miscues that you were getting. And that's, first of all, something that is very common with people who live with your disability. But as you know, I don't believe people come with instructions.
Yeah.
So I'm not defining you by that. But it is definitely one of the things that one would see in their first meetings with you. And that was your insistence on being right, your insistence on being heard, and your insistence on really being the center. And your inability to see why that was hurting you more than anybody.
Yeah.
That was really where I saw you at the beginning.
So, the beginning versus now. What are your insights on how I've gone from 2008 to 2010?
Well, without a lot of thought, I can honestly say that you're more amicable or more friendly. I think that you try very hard to be more open to the people that you don't naturally necessarily enjoy. Mm-hmm. And one of the realities of living with different disabilities is we meet a lot of people with a lot of high needs, and sometimes they're not as attractive on the surface. And at the beginning, you would sort of shy anybody that you weren't interested in talking to, and almost offensively. Whereas now what I find is you're much more open to communicate with people that at one time you would have just ignored or perhaps even been quite rude to. And I find you're finding a way to manage those social responses a little better, and I find you less offensive. Because you were at one time offensive, and I don't find you offensive anymore.
I'd have to say that's pretty fair because a lot of the times, especially in the beginning in Cycle, I saw, there's two types of people. Other than the ones that I would barely get along with, there was, people that were just there, floaters, I called them.
Yeah.
And then there was the ones that got in my way. I called them interference.
Right. And one of the things I think you've learned is that everyone has a right to their space, including you, mm-hmm. and that you don't have a right to their space, but we all have a right to our own. And I think that that's a very big message, both for you to feel more valued internally, as well as to value the people around you more, because respect just is something that's going to come back, and you'll feel it as much as you give it. And I think you felt the positivity of responding in a more socially appropriate behavior rather than the shock treatment, which you have always, I think, had a little pleasure in providing, but I think you've got a better handle on it than you used to.
I've noticed that a lot of the times when you've given me advice that even though at the time sometimes I'm like I really don't see where she's coming from. No, I still at the very least try to think about it because I've realized that it comes from a place where you
I have
at the
nothing
very
to
least
gain.
care.
First of all, I care about everybody, and second of all, I have nothing to gain. The best mirror, and when I say a mirror, is someone to reflect yourself to, because we can't really see ourselves. But the best mirror is someone who has nothing to gain from being honest. In other words, I have really nothing to gain from telling you you look great when you don't, or you look terrible when you do. I'm here because you're here because I believe that you have something to contribute to our community, and in your present state of 2008, you were not going to be able to be a contributor. Mm-hmm. Whereas today, I can see where you can contribute with some more refinement, but by no means if someone came to me and said, oh, that Gabriel, he'll never work, I'd be going, you're wrong. He may not have looked like a guy who could work in 08, but he definitely looks like a guy who should be working in 2010 and then forward.
Yeah.
With a little more refinements.
Well, I was thinking, going more places with the art, a little bit more with the video stuff. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of working on the project. And as I've kind of said indirectly, while I am indeed kind of spotlighting myself, I'm also taking the time in this project to indirectly spotlight reachability. Otherwise, I'd just be the only guy talking.
Which is, I know how sometimes you prefer it, but I also want you to acknowledge to yourself that this is a very clever thing, because what you've done is, despite wanting to hear about yourself, which is, you got a little narcissism in there, and we both do.
Oh, I admit it.
So that's okay, though. But the message is that what you've done, as you said, as much as I just want to sit in front of this camera and talk about me because I feel I have something to say, the truth is you've been able to hear about yourself, but reflected through other people. So it's still fairly narcissistic, but it's bringing in other people at the same time. So I appreciate your attempts at being inclusive of others, even though you still want to talk about you.
Oh yeah, Tova.
But it's your project, so you get to talk about you.
I love your honesty. I've always loved it. I've just got a question. When you first started as executive director, what were your goals?
When I started Reach 10 years ago, it was just me in a room with a phone. So I don't know what I was a director of, if you know what I mean, other than maybe the phone and me. So I didn't feel much like a director. I felt like a startup. I felt like a pioneer.
Okay.
And I did in my own way because I really didn't like, frankly, a lot of the services and how they were being delivered to persons with disabilities. I accept that everybody has their own style. It just seemed to me that, frankly, of course, I thought I could do better. And I got challenged by some people to prove it. And as a result, I had to. And I'm not one to lose, and I'm very competitive. So, of course, it had to be the best and the most innovative and the most creative and, most importantly, the most inclusive. And that's what I've really struggled to do. So with that in mind, I guess my goals were to create a place where there was a community of people with disabilities who didn't have to feel funny, because I believe no matter how many architectural blocks we meet, none of them are a problem if the attitudinal barriers were removed. In other words, if we could only remove the attitudinal, because the architectural would come.
One more question. Where do you see reachability 5-10 years down the road?
Bruce Mills called me for the same question today. He wants me to give him our 5 goals over 5 years.
I'm not just saying personally.
Oh, that's different. Okay, because I didn't think about that. Personally, it's to do more training, because I really enjoy doing the disability training for the private sector and the nonprofit sectors and the public sector, because I believe everyone needs it. So to be able to do that training so that our programming, which maintains and grows, can actually utilize the work I do on the outside, meaning I'm getting employers ready for all of my clients. And the only way to do that is to get out there and change attitudes. So I think my real 5-year goal is to create an environment, and this is personal too, to improve the environment in Canada so that attitudinal barriers are removing, so we can start dealing with all the other barriers that are in place for what I believe to be the whole population. Because Gabriel, I believe everyone will have, has, or is going to have a disability in their life. So there is no sector. It's all of us. So for me, it's about sending that message out, and maybe getting the TV show maybe winding down from and winding into more of a national radio approach, because I think that my message is much more powerful on a radio level than it is on a TV level, because all I do is look at how many blemishes I have, or people call me and tell me my socks didn't match, and you know what? I'd rather radio. So my goal is to be in radio and changing the world, starting with Canada.
Well, I'm just going to say that I've seen you as not only a good, how do you put it, very good motivational speaker, but as I've referenced when I was doing my kind of intro, if you will, also and specifically name you, but I said mentor, and we're in her office.
Yeah.
And I wanted to emphasize that I do see you as not just a mentor, but a very caring individual.
Well, I appreciate that, because as tough as I can seem, as you know, the truth is I care deeply, and that's sometimes why I get so tough, because I become very frustrated that we all need to do whatever we can. And when I see people taking the lazy road, much like I used to, so I acknowledge it, I see it, and I sometimes really want to change it quickly. And with different people, it's a different way of doing it. With you, there was always a little bit of having to shock you into things, because you were verging on unshockable. And your goal was to shock others. And I felt like if you heard what you were saying in return, the shock might not be as fun as it might have been. And that was always my goal with you, is to reflect back, be that mirror, that you can hear and see some of the things you're doing that perhaps you could work on, because they would make your life much better, not because they'll make mine.
Thank you very much for the interview, Tova, and shalom.
Shalom and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Wow. Even if I'd written myself a script, I probably would freeze up. The reason why I'm saying this is because I don't do scripts. I really don't. And I'm used to doing YouTube videos where I'm kind of a short thing, and this is a project on me, actually. Originally, I was going to do something other broadly based on disabilities, broadly based on Asperger's, and then I realized boring a little. And I'm not saying because Asperger's is a boring thing to talk about. People do need to be made aware of it. People need to be aware that autism is not some disease that you need to cure. And neurological wiring, different, that kind of thing. And whenever I hear cure autism, I think, oh great, eugenics. Thank you very much. And I'm not on board with that. But what I'm going to talk about is me. You see, I'm part of a program called Redi, Set, Go. This is in an organization called Reachability. Now, I've been doing stuff on and off, programs if you will. I did that throughout 2008 and 2009. I started off at a program called Cycle. I was very angry. There's some times where I'm very angry anyway. But to be honest, to be blunt, I was rageful. I thought that anybody who got in my way was deemed interference. Who are these people? They don't know anything. Why should I listen to somebody who doesn't know as much as I do? Why should I let somebody interfere in what I want to do? If I want to be angry, I'm going to be angry. Screw what anyone thinks. Never really thought about anything of the repercussions of people that didn't want to speak to me because they sensed the barely contained disdain towards them. It's not always a good way to live, is it? But even then, striving, going through Success 20, I made up my own PowerPoint based on what I live with, Asperger's. And I kind of modeled it after the last lecture in the kind of style, because I started off with some information and I ended up with a head fake. And by the head fake, I was trying to illustrate what I as a person have done, what I as a person believe, that I believe, you can. It was kind of my version of the law of attraction, if you will. People with disabilities can overcome their adversity. People like me, talented, can overcome our socialization barriers that are either put in place by ourselves or by other people. Now, I have Asperger's. I'm not gonna be ashamed of that. I am not just Asperger's, though. I'm not just high-functioning autism. Anybody who thinks that I am, well, you're mistaken. I am Greek Orthodox. I'm an artist. I draw. I've painted a couple of pictures, but mostly I like to draw. I play guitar. I sing. I play piano. Let's see, what else do? I do YouTube videos. And mostly, I work with a standard definition camera. Yay! So, if you're wondering why I'm not doing any close-ups, I'm afraid of what my skin will look like in high definition. I'm a little freaked out by that. Because with standard definition, it's not as clear to see whether you have good or bad skin. Oh my god, do I have acne or moles or whatever? Yes, I'm a little bit self-conscious. Why don't we just zoom in anyway? Okay, enough of that crap. Alright, enough looking at myself, as it were. Again, I'm just somebody who wants to get through life doing my best to make money, to better myself, and if I happen to help others on the way, that's good. But I think it's a big misnomer that a lot of people make, that persons living with disabilities happen to... Hi, right now I'm interviewing Natasha Chestnut. She's the coordinator of Asset, and I just wanted to ask you, Natasha, of course you were my first coordinator when it was in Cycle, and
Yes.
my question for you is, what did you think of me then? What were your impressions of me?
My impressions of you when you first came into reachability. I thought, wow, this is going to be a challenge, and I had a lot of respect for you because you always spoke up. But I did think, wow, this is going to be a challenge because you were coming from a place of maybe a little angry, a little closed-minded, maybe, if that's fair to say.
Well, I'd say from my experience, I had a lot of pent-up rage.
Right, and you were very honest with that in the group. You always, kind of talked about that. And, it definitely came forth. So that's where we kind of started in Cycle, was looking for ways to, maybe improve your outlook on the world.
Okay. Where would you say my real breakthrough came in Cycle?
Your breakthrough moment. Your breakthrough moment was definitely with Tova. Definitely with Tova. And I will never forget ever that day because she gave you some tough love. She gave you some tough love, and she put you right in your place. And I think you respected that. I do. I think that kind of made you think for a second about how you were coming across.
Yeah, well, to be honest, for me, I was just thinking, who does this woman think she is? I didn't actually think of her as she was just, that lady who I never talked to because she wasn't the coordinator, and yeah, okay, whatever, you do your thing, I don't care about you. And then she came and said that, and I was thinking, nobody has ever been that blunt with me.
It's true, but you've been that blunt with other people.
Yeah, well, I just thought, I have self-appointed permission because, I'd been everybody's target, so why not?
Yeah.
And of course, Tova so rightly pointed out, just because you've been through crap doesn't mean that you have the permission. And there's two ways to say it. One means
That's right.
explicit deleted. The other means what you're trying to say. And you just said the first one.
Yeah.
So right, I know you've been in reachability, obviously different building, but you've been in reachability as longer than I have,
Yes.
and you've seen from Cycle to Success 20 to volunteering to For Youth, and now Ready, Set, Go. What are your insights on my development per se, and of course, where I am now.
Where you are now, wow. Huge transformation, huge. When you come into the office now and you talk with us and you laugh and you joke with us, there's definitely more of a lightness about you. You're able to let your guard down and enjoy other people and laugh, and certainly now I think you've learned more of a tolerance and patience for other people, where if someone's saying something that you disagree with, you're really able to sort of step back, hear them out, listen to their point. You maybe don't agree with it, but you're able to, in an assertive way, say that you disagree with that. You don't necessarily think less of the person or dislike them just because you don't like their opinion on something. And I think that's shown such tremendous growth on your part, and such an awareness you have now of other people and how you affect other people, and that things you say, do have an impact on people. And you're just more aware of that now.
I know that I used to have, there used to be times where I try to be interacting with people, and I try to be very, very funny, if you will, and and well, you know how the early times it came across as, oh my God, I can't believe that came out of his mouth, and
I still think that sometimes.
Okay, fair
but
enough.
in a good way.
Okay. So, I'd say I'll wrap it up with this question, but
Sure.
You were first the coordinator of Cycle, and now you're the coordinator of Asset.
Yes.
I'm wondering, how have your experiences been in both, and how's it differed?
How is it different? Well, they're very different programs, and I've had the chance to work with the same client in both programs throughout my switch. So basically in Cycle, you're dealing more with the communication side, conflict management, stress management. So I think you see a different side of the person, because you're really talking more about things that might make them angry, things, areas where they lack assertiveness, or maybe they're aggressive. So definitely my whole perspective of the individual in that program would have been different. Assets, more based on self-confidence and positive thinking. So I am seeing a whole other side. I'm seeing different triggers. We're not talking so much about anger and communication. We're talking about what are their specific barriers, and why are they feeling maybe, a little depressed or just lacking self-esteem. So, they're very different. I get to see sort of the same person on opposite ends of the spectrum in some regards.
Okay. I did say it was going to be last, but one word answer.
Sure.
Do you believe in the law of attraction, yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Natasha,
Gabriel.
and thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's me again. I just thought I'd tell you that, how I said earlier, I was into art. Thought I'd take a little look at my sketch pad, or a couple of them. And, well, the reason being I thought I'd show you what I'm into. This was a little sketch of a Star Trek thing. This is something I did while I was in V Street, or part of V Street. Rough sketch. Another sketch. And here is something I did, which was, I was supposed to, very big fan of NCIS. I tried to do one of Corte de Pablo. That didn't turn out well. Unfinished Avril Lavigne sketch. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Probably trying to do a comic. Someone I know. A couple of miscellaneous sketches. Different person, of course. This one is the same one that was the blonde one. Here's something I did as well. I do a lot of sketches actually, because I have a lot of free time, if you will. That's one I did called Leo Female. Let's see. Trying to figure out something here. Oh! I just came across a real good one. This is a sketch I did of someone called Angie Zapata. She was about 19, and she was murdered back in 2009, I believe it was. I didn't know her personally, but I got the image from the internet, and I thought I could sketch. This is someone I know from Brazil. I've only known her through the internet. Very nice person. This is a sketch of a friend I know. A little colorful there. This is kind of a sketch I've been working on. Didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Oh look, blank paper. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh yeah, here's a good one. It's kind of someone I know online, and I thought I'd add a kind of a Star Trek theme to it. Sometimes I do that. This one, just a random sketch. You know, sometimes I do very random sketches and then I end up meeting the person in real life. It's kind of freaky. Try to do a little bit of a self-portrait, you know, kind of a what I'd look like in a police uniform. Of course, obviously, no beard in that one. Unfinished sketch here. Oh, and the editing. That if you heard a kind of sound, that was the editing. One of my clips is just finished. This one, someone that just a picture I snagged offline. Thought I'd do, or online. Thought I'd do a sketch of her. I don't know her personally. I like to do random sketches. Really, it's helps me. You know, helps me keep calm and happy, if you will. Ooh, some early work. And good lord, this was kind of, well, I was kind of learning to do proportions and getting the color just right. I think not as good as I could have made it, but whatever. It's a little ship that I did. I'm a big Star Trek fan. I called it, as you can see. Just gonna zoom in on it. The USS Ares. Kind of zodiac themed, if you will. Oh my god, I can't believe I drew that. That was bad. I'm sorry, I meant learning curve. Quality wise, some of these aren't as good as some of my latest stuff, but little template for a comic. Oh, this one I actually was proud of, despite the fact that the hand is definitely not in proportion with the rest of the body. But I did some good details on the face. There we go. I've definitely improved since then. A little rough sketch of no Star Trek thing. Some random blonde. Oh wow, kind of a rough sketch of the Defiant. And, did I mention I'm into Star Trek? Because if it isn't so much obvious, it should be by now. Yeah, I got myself a little ship there. One that in a year it's kind of been attacked. It's on fire. They're destroying a Dominion ship. Multiple attackers. Wow. Oh man. And here's kind of something I just whipped up while I was on the bus. I was very Zodiac themed. Yeah. Okay. Oh, this one's pretty good. I was doing kind of learn to draw online thing. I mean, I know how to draw, but I was kind of trying to improve on my technique, so I thought I'd do a grid drawing. If you notice, you still see the grid lines on this. It's pretty good. Unfinished rough drawing of Candace Kane. Some random unfinished drawing. And that one's a finished drawing. By the way, most of these kind of different people, if you get my drift. Oh, unfinished sketch. I don't know why I didn't finish that. Probably got bored. kind of another unfinished Star Trek sketch. And this one is a one I did. I kind of started it off and just finished it this month. Named it Sagittarius Girl. Now the reason why I'm kind of just doing this is because I thought I showed you a little bit of my artistry, if you will, but with that clip in the office. But I thought I would just take a little bit of a flip through my sketchbooks and give you an idea of stuff that I've not only thought of exhibiting or trying to sell, but also stuff that I've improved on since I started drawing. In fact, I had a whole whack load of drawings back in 2006, but I had to get rid of them because I had no place to store them. And this is one I whipped up. Still haven't really finished it, but there's some things you don't. And let's see. Yeah, this is the one that I'm currently working on, and somebody I know. I'm not gonna tell you who it is because, I don't want to embarrass the person. But anyway, this is, as I've shown you, I've definitely gone through phases where I used to have bad proportions, bad color, and of course the shading and the detail weren't so good or weren't so realistic. I'm still working on that, but I think I've definitely made some improvements in that area. So anyway, it's kind of like I wouldn't say so much a brief tour of my sketchbooks, but definitely kind of a look at what I do and how I've done it, and just the main message, I do like to draw a lot, and when I'm not playing World of Warcraft, I draw. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that little look-see at my artistic life, and yay! End transmission. So, Mr. Tim Vassillo, how you doing?
Good, Gabriel. How are you?
Very good. I was just wondering if, you obviously you came in a little after I'd been into cycle,
Right.
but as the coordinator for Redi, Set, Go, and of course while I was volunteering,
Right.
what considering that you are the person in charge of this project overall, I'm just wondering, do you have any insights into how the difference is between myself while I was volunteering and now?
Well, it sounds like a cliche kind of thing, but you seem far more comfortable in your skin. I think your way of dealing with people is a little bit more delicate now, a little bit softer now. You still have your unique interests and, the way you look at the world, and, if somebody says something that you don't agree with, you take exception to it. But I believe now you do it in a bit more of a politically correct way, where you still disagree wholeheartedly with what the person is saying to you, but you find a way of packaging it as information as opposed to just confrontation. You give your point of view of where you're coming from as opposed to just, that's stupid for somebody to think that, or I can't believe you said that, or I can't believe you think that about these people. Because, I know your views on racism and sexism and any form of stereotyping, stigmatizing people you don't agree with it at all. You're a little bit more willing to listen to why somebody has a view, even if it's a view that's counter to yours. So I think it seems to me just you're more comfortable, and find it. I found it easy to talk to you before, but I find you interact with people on a day-to-day basis in a more positive fashion than perhaps previous.
Okay, so just wondering, well, you remember the haircutting event,
Yes.
and I remember I was talking to you about your program, and
Mhm.
you had you told me that if you ever, I believe the words were, if you ever want to get in,
Mhm.
you are guaranteed a spot.
Yep.
And I was wondering, when did you come to this conclusion? And I mean, I'm not complaining about it, but I'm wondering what made you think, I want this guy in my program.
Well, because the program has a strong artistic side to it, the Creation Week, which we call the Cyber Quilt, knowing that you are a creative person, you're involved in video, you're involved in music, you're involved in the visual arts, and sketching and painting and things like that. You have a lot of diverse interests. I thought you would be a good fit for the program. But on top of that, knowing the developments that you've made in your life and maybe some of the changes you've embraced, I thought that the program would be good for you and that you'd be good for the program. When the program first came up and I started thinking about clients that I would approach to be part of it, the most important thing was the person had to understand their disability, their barrier, but most importantly, they had to come at it from a creative angle, which I think you come at all things in your life from a creative point of view or vantage point. So when the program was first bandied about by Tova, and when I was informed that I'd be the coordinator, I started thinking of their former clients and present clients and people that outside of our client base that would be good for the program, a good fit. You were one of the first people I thought of. At the time that the program started, I believe you were involved in another program elsewhere that made it prohibitive for you to be part of my program. And again, the ensuing months, life just happens, things go on, you're involved in things, and clients are coming in. But when I did meet with you at the Sheer Success program during the haircutting event, I want to reiterate your invitation, or the invitation to you in the program. So that's why I brought it up at that time, and that's why I said that, because I guess what I meant by that is not that I was holding a place for you in every month, but if you told me that you were interested, showed interest in the program, I would find a way of fitting you into the program. Either by extending the amount of clients in the program, or some other method that would make it feasible for you to do it. But I did want you to be part of the program from the first day that we started Redi Set Go.
It's a very good thing of you to say. I'm very happy to know that at least a couple of people here like me, I guess.
Right.
Just wondering, because I know that when you first started, you were filling in for, well, you were kind of succeeding Natasha in the cycle program.
Yep, that was the cycle program.
And I remember you'd been talking about something along the lines of getting a creative program together.
Right.
I believe you'd mentioned coffee houses or something.
Yeah, I was actually part of that might come to fruition in the near future, but I had been trying to start a writers group, a writers circle, a creative writing group, and if not any of those, then to have maybe like a coffee house or an open mic night where people could come and read their poetry, read their short stories, do spoken word, things like slam poetry, things that, some type of creative project that maybe is more like, I guess what they call it, multimedia, mixed media, something, performance art, that sort of thing. Things kind of change. Obviously, we all have dreams and aspirations, and I see Reachability Association as a really good launch point for creative programming. which is where Ready, Set, Go comes in. And right now we're working on a creative writing project for at-risk youth called Writing in the Margins, which would be an 8-week creative writing program that would end with the production of a chapbook, small in-house production of the writing from the people from the program in that particular cycle of writing in the margins, and then perhaps have at the end of the year a collected bound copy of the best of
Okay.
creative writing of the program. So
Tim,
yes,
I think I'm just going to ask one last question.
sure.
But with Cycle and Ready, Set, Go,
Right.
how would you see yourself? Can I ask this just right? But how, in your experience, how's it differed? I mean, I've taken Cycle obviously
Sure.
under Natasha, but your experience is not going into specifics for confidentiality reasons,
Sure.
but just how's the experience been for you from one program to the next?
Well, I mean, Cycle was my sort of my entree into to Reachability Association, and I really appreciated the opportunity. I didn't really come at this from an experience background of working in nonprofits or working in facilitation. I'd done more. I was a bit more in the management of people side of things and management of companies and retail and things like that. But when I was given the opportunity, I realized that first of all, I think I had a bit of a knack for communicating, and I had a knack for making people feel comfortable and sort of getting eliciting responses from them where perhaps they wouldn't respond otherwise. But I always had my eye on a dream of doing a creative program, and so I mean I really enjoyed Cycle. It's a bit of a smaller scale program, being a 1-week program dealing with 1 or 2 people at a time. Sometimes a group setting is a bit better for discussion. The more people, the more discussion. I saw it as a natural transition. I really enjoyed having that 6 or 7 months of doing that program, week in, week out, honing my skills as a communicator and a facilitator. Yeah, I think it just sort of one led to the other, and in a nonprofit, because because things are a little uncertain in our world, and the more hats you wear, the better. The more skills you have, the stronger your connection to your job is. So I saw the transition to be something positive and natural. But now that I'm in a program like Ready, Set, Go, that's a bit more artistic, a bit longer format, being 3 weeks long, dealing with a number of different issues such as confidence, self-esteem, stigma, stereotype, very important issues like disclosure of disability, accommodations that are available for those specific disabilities in educational or in work settings. And then adding the artistic expression of that, and how everyone has such a unique way of communicating their artistic skills or perhaps their creativity, that it adds a dimension to the program that a program like Cycle just doesn't offer, simply due to its format.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tim.
No, my pleasure.
Appreciated the interview, and
Thank you.
I know I'm probably going to say this at the end of the program, but it was it was great working with you when I was volunteering, when we were both more or less
Staff, fellow staff.
well, more or less, considering I was a volunteer, but
Right.
on the same level, and
Yeah.
now as a coordinator, you being the coordinator, obviously,
Sure.
I don't see you so much as a dictator or a boss, but as an equal, despite the fact that you are the guy in charge.
I'm the coordinator, but yeah, and I guess that's sort of what I try to bring to what I do, is that we have a boss. We're borrowing her office right now with her permission, but
I see her as a friend as well.
Yeah, well, and as do I. but I never mistake the fact that she is the boss.
Oh,
So
definitely not.
that leaves people like myself free to do other things. I don't have to be the boss. So I get to run my program. I find it easier to get the most out of people in my program by treating them like an equal, because school didn't treat me very well. I don't have very many positive experiences of my educational experience, so I tried to do something a little bit different than the way it was done with me. Try not to be arbitrary. I try not to be dictatorial. It's more of a I can't force people to do things. I want them to decide to do it themselves. But I'm glad you recognize the fact that I'm a bit more of a, less of a boss or a coordinator and more of a participant in the program. I'm just, I guess, I lead the discussion or I lead the direction we're going in class. But I do find we get the most out of the program by discussion. And for everyone to discuss, it takes the facilitator or coordinator to not talk and allow the participants to talk. So that's sort of what I do.
Thank you very much, Tim.
My pleasure.
It's been an honor.
Thank you.